Hello, I'm EPX again, and welcome back to the episode of my Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I'm playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft on the Xbox, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff. And in today's episode, I'm actually going to be working on a little bit of a building, because the museum, the, weirdest and to some people most ugly building I have in this world, is a building I figured I'd work on a bit today, because the Elder Garden project, the thing I came up with, it was like probably 2 years ago now, and I was just like, this is theoretically possible. You can put an Elder Garden in a minecart, and I showed that, you could do it in creative, and then I was like, well, I mean, it'd be too tricky to really do in survival. Now we're finally doing it, and one of the preparations which I really realized that I need now that the minecart rail is just over there, is we need to have a proper aquarium for the Elder Garden to land in. So in today's video, I'm going to be working on that properly, because we have a rough route for the minecart rail to get over here. It's going to go over the walls, I guess, and into the ceiling, but then we need a way for it to actually, keep the Elder Garden once it's maintained. So we're going to make a little glass cage for it, roughly over here somewhere, and that's what we're doing in today's video. I've got myself a bunch of glass, probably not quite enough glass, but we've got a furnace and some sand. We've got a whole bunch of sand because of the destroyed desert, and we're going to be working on some amount of aquarium so we can have a place for the Elder Garden to rest, and then we're going to be finishing off the track and basically getting everything done besides the rails, so we're all ready to move the Elder Garden into his new home. So yeah, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making like a glass ceiling for now, because we want to have the thing covered in water, and then we'll make holes in the glass ceiling so we can have like, again, like little aquarium cages, like, kind of like a little exhibit, and then also we'll be making like a little, almost like maze walkway, so you have to walk through all of the things as a person. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Yeah, let's get straight into it. And yeah, I think we have to start the ceiling just above, like regular height, just like that. And this might seem like it's a bit of a weird placement because like you can't really jump too much, but I think it's the only way to make it so the water can be at a regular enough level. Because if it's at that level, the water's just above it, and it kind of makes sense. Whereas if we go too much higher, the water's just like way in the ceiling. And if there was a way to have water literally flow above your head, I mean, you can with signs maybe. I would do that, but I don't think it's like a perfect implementation. So instead, we'll use glass like it's some real aquarium or something. So anyway, that said, yeah, we're gonna be just covering this place in glass and then putting some water on, and then we'll deal with the rest later. But let's talk about what I've been up to this past week while we do that, because this should be an easy enough thing, just like placing a bunch of glass and then having a big box of glass, maybe in this corner. Yeah, maybe, I think this corner's the logical one for it. So instead of keeping placing blocks this way, we'll break these probably later, but we'll have like a little box over here. What have I been up to this past week? And the simple answer to that question is playing a lot of video games. So the Xbox One X actually came from Microsoft. Actually, they sent like an Xbox One X and a few games to like try out the 4K thing. So I realized like this is the time I guess I need to get a 4K TV so I can actually like, again, because I really took the reviewing thing seriously. Like, if I'm gonna be like one of the few people in the world to like be able to give this a try, I want to be like actually testing the 4K and actually like letting is 4K gaming the next big thing, or is it like like always, like, well, I mean, it's not true 4K or whatever. And that's what I've been up to this past week, just playing a lot of video games. Like, because I wasn't traveling anywhere and because like I wasn't visiting anyone or doing anything like that, this past week all I had to do was like, I'll make the videos in the morning. I'll try and like, I'll try and make them like, fairly early in the morning, and then I'm gonna play a lot of games. Because also this past week, or I think it was just over a week ago now, Super Mario Odyssey came out, and like that game is one I was like, I wanted to get as much time into as soon as I could, because there's something, this is one of the big shames about video games. Like, you can't really experience, you can experience a game, like, late, and it's fine. Like, we're all playing Minecraft now, and it's technically 8 years old, and, like, you're not losing anything for playing it 8 years late, or, I mean, it's not late, because the game's better now than it was before, but, you get the point, like, some games you can play old, and it's just fine. Like, it's still a great idea to go back to, like, insert game here, like, Deus Ex Human Revolution, still a great game, fun fact. But, yeah, one of the things, that I don't feel is, like, when some games come out, there's such a big, like, internet hype, and I don't want things to be like either spoiled or like like I don't want to miss it. I don't like when people are talking about the Metro Kingdom. I want to get it, and basically that is why. Also, this is probably a big enough cage for the Elder Guardian. Actually, it's an Elder Guardian cage. It can be as big as it needs to be. So we'll just have it be like this entire corner up to this point here. So you can look at it from this side, but not really from the other side. So there we go. That's the this is gonna be the Elder Guardians thing. We'll leave like some space here so we can jump in and like maybe make some Elder Guardian stuff. But for now, that's about good, and then we'll have the rest of this covered in ceiling, and then we'll also have like another cage over here for like a regular set of Guardians maybe, and then like a squid over there. Yeah, I'd love to have some squid separated from the Guardians, so like you can see they want to attack it, or like maybe have like a space through there or something. So this entire wall here, oh wait, we can't use that wall because we've kind of made a space there. So unless we make this a really thin exhibit, which we could do, yeah, we could make like a one space gap to look in there. That's how we're doing this. This is bad aquarium design, but I like it anyway. Like, there's something there's something about bad design that's like beautiful in its own way. But yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Mario Odyssey, been playing a lot of Xbox One X, and yeah, basically, you mean having a lot of fun playing video games. Like there's always that part of me that's been dreaming ever since I was a child. Like, it'd be nice to just, like, have all the, like, the world stop bothering me, so I could just play games for, like, days at a time if I wanted to. And it was cool, because I did that for the first, like, 3 or 4 days, and then finally I was like, I see why I don't do this my whole life. Because, there's always going to be a part of me fearing that, like, maybe I just do all the things I do, whether that's, I mean, I play video games for a living, but, like, like, because there's a lot of, like, stuff that goes into video preparation that isn't just playing the game itself. It's, like, the idea and working out, like, basically, what I do is not entirely video games. It's, like, most video games, but I like it. But sometimes I wonder, like, is there a part of me that wants to just play games all day but can't because the world says I can't? And the answer to that question is, like, actually, no, I like doing things, and it's cool to realize that. Like, fun fact, if you have too many responsibilities and you don't feel like you're playing enough games, take off, like, 2 days for it and try and play them all day. It's kind of like, when you catch, like, a kid smoking cigarettes or something, you're like, smoke the whole pack, and they're like, oh, I don't like this at all. And it's like that with video games, and even though I liked it and I've been having a lot of fun, it's like, this was good, but I feel like, playing 12 hours of games a day, that's a little bit too much, there's a nice number somewhere less than 12, and it's cool to realize that through actually doing it, rather than just assuming that at some point that happens. I know that might sound like it was a nonsense train, but it's something I realized, recently, and I don't know, it feels good to realize, because then your life feels like it's more your choice than, like, a thing you're forced into, because that's like an eternal, problem you run into as an adult, I feel like, of, I don't know, like, are you doing what you want to do, or are you doing what the world tells you to do, or something along those lines. Anyway, we're gonna go get ourselves a tiny bit of wood, I think. I don't know, like, I've got 6 planks, but apparently that's not enough. I'm gonna put some glass in the thing, and then I'm gonna chop down that mountain over there, in that order, or in reverse order, I'm not sure. But yeah, let's go ahead, let's get some glass out and put some more sand in, because we need to... Well, by the way, like, for some reason, furnaces just seem like they're smelting slower recently. I really think I must be imagining that, but it feels like it's true. So anyway, yeah, well, so that's what I've been up to this past week, and let's talk a little bit about last week, because I've said this before, and I'll say it again, but I read the comments of these videos pretty much every single week. Sometimes it's a day late, sometimes it's not, because again, the people in these comments are generally some of the I guess, like, the more, they're people who are fans of the stuff and who aren't just, like, accidentally there and like, oh, it's like, this or that, like, I just saw this first video and wow, why are you so British, or whatever. You get, like, a nice quality of comments, so thank you everyone. If you're watching this video, you're one of the cool people, let's say it that way. But basically, one of the things we responded to last week, because I made some joke about St. Vincent and the Grenadines, was like, oh, I know everything about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I mentioned actually in that video, though, like, I knew about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's a country, by the way. If you want to know a tiny bit about the country, I'm not going to go too much into it, but it's a country which is consistent of the island St. Vincent, which is most of its territory, and there's, like, some tiny islands which are in the Grenadines Islands, and that's why it's called St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's one of the smaller countries on Earth by land area, and the reason I know about it is because I bought the .vc domain, right? I said that last week. Those domains, by the way, they're slightly more expensive than a .com. Like, it's like $40 a year versus $8, and I bought it, like, it would be 10 years ago now, like 2007 or something. So I'm just saying, like, it's a tiny little thing, but it's tangential learning, and that's, like, one of the most important things in the world, I feel like, because a lot of people don't really, like, learning is something you don't think you like, but you secretly kind of do, if that makes sense. Like, that sounds like it's some weird, like, trick of, like, you don't think you do, but I'm gonna make you like it. But no, I mean, like, there's a lot of, like, cases where you learn, like, really interesting stuff, but because you want to, not because you have to. And one of the examples of this, for instance, so this is, like, one of the reasons, like, I care about, like, tiny countries and stuff around the world is in school at one point we were talking about how some countries around the world don't have internet, and we spoke about, like, Tuvalu. It's a tiny little island. It's, like, this world's least populated country of, like, 10,000 people, and it just fascinated me to learn, like, wait, they have that few people. Also, by the way, we have to make this wider so that we can fit the Elder Guardian through, because they'll suffocate otherwise. Thank you to the comment that pointed that out. But yeah, basically going back to what I was saying, but yeah, basically, it's fascinating to me that, like, there's, like, a country, because they're in, like, just the middle of an ocean, like, halfway between, like, Australia and, Hawaii, they just don't really get internet because, like, it's expensive to get satellite internet, so they're all, like, living on, like, these tiny amounts of internet and stuff. And I know there's something fascinating about hearing stuff like that makes you want to learn more, like, how do you live on an island of 10,000 people, literally connected to nowhere? And, it raises a billion questions, and answering those questions is fun. And I feel like, we have too much of this emphasis in, like, Also, we can't place. We have to have like tracks there. We have too much this emphasis in like regular school of like, you know, here's the reason you have to learn things. It's because you know, like this is what you have to learn. Like trust us. We're teachers. We make you learn that stuff. Whereas, like for instance, in school. So I'm talking about British school here. I imagine you didn't learn this if you don't live in the UK. But we had to learn about the Great Fire of London of like 1666. At one point, fun fact, in 1666, in fact, that's been burned into me. London burned down, and like pretty much all of it, because one dude started a fire. The fire spread, and it spread to the entire city, and like 75% of houses or something, they all burned down, and that's like, even today, like, I'm not interested enough to go back to it, just because they, like, forced it on us. Because, you know, I mean, like, to me, it's just like, oh, yeah, there's a fire and stuff. But if you say, like, so, you know fires, you know how they burn stuff? Here's what it would look like if your house burnt down. Whoa! Now imagine if, like, the largest city in Europe all burned down, and, you know, I'm just saying, you can make things interesting to people, I feel like, rather than just saying, like, you have to learn this, you can kind of, like, be like, well, here's a thing, would you like to learn more? And I feel like you learn way more that way, and I feel like that's why I love the YouTube, like, idea of educational videos. That's why I make some too, even, because if you just that's also, you know, why I guess, like, to some extent why you can clickbait the educational videos, because if you fascinate people by saying, you know, you won't believe the 10 things you can do with a golden pickaxe, and then people learn about it. It's the same kind of thing in my opinion, where like I feel like it's almost like trickery to learn about stuff, but yeah, it's good trickery in a way. So anyway, the reason I brought that up is because like, this thing about Tuvalu, this thing about the Great Fire of London, everyone has, like, their own collective little knowledge spheres, right? Where, like, you know something, or, like, you know, like, for instance, Tuvalu, I bet 70% of people who watch this video had never heard of Tuvalu before. Even right now, you know, I just said it. How many of you remember the name Tuvalu? Probably not that many. And I'm not saying that, like, oh, yeah, because everyone's so stupid. I'm saying it because, you know, it's just, like, it's arguably not important. It's not part of the, like, sphere of collective knowledge we have. But it's fascinating that, like, that sphere of collective knowledge is, like, so big, and, like, there's stuff in probably what we know that's fascinating to us. Because, you know, to people who live on Tuvalu's not that fascinating. That's just their way of life. But imagine, like, what we know right now that we just assume that everyone knows, that's actually, like, this crazy fascinating thing. I feel like I was thinking about that, like, what is the weirdest, craziest thing? And you think, like, you know, isn't it kind of weird that we, like, you know, think about World War II, the Nazis. Like, literally Nazis, they were a real thing, like, and not like, oh yeah, a real thing, like, oh yeah, back in ancient times when we were awful. That was, like, 70 years ago or something, like, and it's just, there's loads of fascinating things, and I sometimes wonder what we don't know that we know that is really actually quite interesting. And, yeah, that's just a little bit of a thought. So, I actually kind of want to go get some rails and show you the Elgato side of things. So I'm going to do that right now, because I know I have a lot of iron sat in a furnace, and, you know, it'd be kind of nice to work on that row here. And even though my elytra is next to broken, we're going to try and just fly as fast as we can and not break it. Because, you know, that's a thing I'm sure we can do. So let's just fly, and then fly again, all the way into the sky. And then let's drag this right back down. So yeah, it's actually not that long of a rail when you look at it like this. Like, when you're flying past it at this speed, there's not that much that looks like it has to be placed. But bear in mind that each one of these blocks has to have, like, an individual iron rail on it. And then you realize, like, oh god, how quickly this can add up. So, oh, I actually went right through him without even being affected by it. So, yeah, that's one of the things. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, attention to knowledge is it's fascinating, and it's a thing I feel like we should, like, teach people to learn more about. Like, you know, are you interested by insert thing here? Then why not learn about insert other thing here? Because that's quite cool too, fun fact. And I feel like we should, like, teach people how to learn that way, and then, you know, then people would find learning more interesting. But maybe, you know, oh god. I think I got hit by a guardian. That's just, like, my rough opinion. Maybe it's entirely wrong. Maybe people shouldn't learn, and there's, like, good reasons for it. You sometimes wonder that, right? Like, you know, maybe there's a reason why we don't know these things that we don't know. And usually when you get to that point, you should be like, well, I mean, if you go much further on this, it's going to sound like a crazy conspiracy theory, and, like, that's not really worth it. But yeah, it's something I wonder about from time to time. Also, this is very annoying. Can I block it with a sword? Oh, and there's the Elder Guardian too. So it looks like there's a delay between getting near the Elder Guardian and when he, like, activates. I guess because usually he doesn't need to activate until you've been there for a while. But it's fascinating to see regardless. So yeah, we're just gonna skirt right round him. Hope he doesn't hit me, just like that. We're gonna place all our rails, and then we're gonna go back to our aquarium, right now, shall we? So yeah, let's go there now. So, oh, actually, I need a bucket. I've got 7 iron. That's enough for a bucket. So yeah, let's go ahead, let's place all these rails, and you can see how like a stack and a half of rails I have here is like only going to be enough to like move this a little bit forward, because rails, they run out pretty fast as it turns out. So yeah, basically back to what I was saying, yeah, tangential knowledge is a really big thing, and I just feel like that's a thing. You know, sometimes I wonder like, is maybe like, you know, the way education is like set out is because people always assume like, you know, there are some things everyone should know and we should teach people those things. But maybe it'd be cool if like, you know, you let people just learn fun things. Or maybe, you know, the way humans work is like, I've always wondered this, if like the reason we always learn the same things, like everyone knows about World War II. Everyone watching this video, no one's like, what with World War II? There was a second world? No, you know, no one's like that. That's not a thing, because it's just taught to everyone, right? Like it's one of those parts of our collective knowledge, and it makes me wonder if like maybe that's how like humans like to operate. Like we like to, you know, have this like collective kind of knowledge thing, and if everyone just knew their own stuff, then having conversations would be impossible. If you've ever heard the phrase like, you know, even if lions could speak, we wouldn't know how to talk to them. Then maybe it's like the same thing where like, well, I mean, you know, like it's if we just all knew different things, then how would we ever relate anything? You'd be like, oh yeah, so that was kind of like, let me think of another thing that's collective. It's like how trees grow from seeds, right? And they'd be like, what's a seed? Like, I'm not sure. What is that? Like, we all know that plants grow from seeds, or like, hopefully know that. But like, if you don't know it, then, you know, you can't make metaphors and analogies. And whereas if we have like this, like, if like we know 90% the same stuff, then we can do lots of stuff like that we can't otherwise. That's just something I think about from time to time. Maybe it's irrelevant, maybe it's worthless, but it's something that at least is worth thinking about a little bit. So yeah, I guess we're going to have to fly all the way back. I'm really scared my Elytra's going to break while I'm in midair. Like, look at that bar and tell me that you're not scared of that too. But you know, we'll just try our best. So yeah, let's go back over here. Still, by the way, this is like 70% done, not 100%. Let's go back to bed, and then let's deal with this in the morning. Actually, there's a bed in the place over here. Let's use that one. So, yeah, to go back to my previous point, though, about, like, you know, why do we teach certain things? I've always wondered if we taught people, like, if there are some skills that if you teach people how to do them, because there's a lot of really obvious, because people always say, like, when criticizing school, like, you know what, we should teach people this or that, why don't we? Like, and one of the big examples is like interview skills, like how to do well at a job interview. But I've always assumed, because a job interview is one of these situations where there's like 300 people applying for a job, 10 people get it. Like, no matter how good you train people to be at job interviews, you know, job interviews are about being better, not about being, you know, there's not like a certain level where like all 300 people get the job. So anyway, the reason I mention that is because like, I reckon by teaching people about job interviews, you kind of like just raise the bar for everyone, and you essentially teach people nothing, if that makes any sense. Because again, the people who are good at, who are going to be better, are going to be better, and the people who aren't. And maybe that's wrong, maybe it's right, but it's just how I'm assuming this works. But yeah, the reason I mentioned that is because I wonder if there's a few things like that where we can't teach people, because if we did, it would just make it, you know, harder and therefore not achieve anything. And one of the big examples of this is like, you know, what if we teach people how to get rich? Because I'm sure it's good for society if you get rich, or if you do it like through legitimate means anyway. I mean, if you rob a bank, it's probably not good for society. But it's good for society if you make people rich, because, you know, something money makes the world turn, whatever you want to say about it. But, you know, like, that's a thing I think, you know, it's pretty much universally agreed on in some form, right? So why don't we just teach people, like, this is how you make enough money to buy yourself a, you know, a damn Lambo, or whatever it is. And I guess the answer to that question is like, I mean, because maybe we don't know the way, or like maybe this or that, or maybe it is like one of these things where like you can only get rich by being like, you know, again, slightly better than everyone else, and it's the same kind of thing. Or maybe people don't think about it that way, and like, you know, school, you know, if you try to like, you know, propose that we should teach people that, you'd be like, no, school is all about the educational institution, where people don't go here to get rich. Or maybe people don't like to acknowledge that being rich is like a lot of people's life goals. Because as I understand it, like, this is one of those things, like, again, I get curious about, like, the whole idea of, like, being rich as being the best thing in the world is, like, a fairly recent idea. Like, it's not something that everyone just always assumed, like, you know, the way you get happiness is when you have a car that costs more than $500,000, like, you know, gotta have that Lamborghini or Ferrari or whatever, or you're just not happy, your life is, you know, that's, like, a relatively recent idea. Again, as I understand it, because, you know, like, also, I think we have to make like an infinite water source to pull this off. I'm not sure how we're going to do this, but we're going to try now to cover this whole thing in water. Oh no, we got to do the walls first. That's why we haven't done that. So let's just place one block of glass here. It's terrible placement, but whatever. Let's just... Ooh, okay, you know what? So yeah, there's actually a few more steps have to be done here. But yeah, I've always wondered, on the point of being rich, if there is like, if it is the sort of thing where like, if you do that, then only the top whatever number of people can do that, or if it's the sort of thing where like, maybe we just don't want to admit it. Because again, it's a fairly recent idea. Like, it almost ruins your life to believe that like money is where all the happiness is at. Because I mean, that's just like, if that was true, then that we'd obviously run everything a little bit differently. But it's not true. Like, that's why. Because otherwise, why isn't everyone trying to get rich? Maybe you think everyone is, and they're just doing a bad job. But I don't think that's actually how the world actually works. So, it'd be cool if we could teach people that too, eh? But yeah, the reason I bring that up is because, yeah, okay, by the way, if you want to know how to get rich, here's Toycat's 10-minute guide. In case you're like, not Toycat, I don't care about all the things you're saying. I like money. I like nice cars and nice things. How do I get rich, Toycat? So here's my very brief understanding. This is Toycat's guide to being a happy rich person. So if you want to get like kind of rich, like pretty rich, the best way to do it is to work in some form of high intensity job. If you're a lawyer, I believe, salaries. I always hear about Americans who are just like, well, you only make $200,000 a year. How do we budget this or that? Because again, like in some professions, 200,000 is like not much to make a year. The best way to get rich is to work out what jobs make a lot of money and then become good at one of those jobs. Fun fact, there you go. Now you can make a bunch of money. So also we're using Prismarine here because it kind of makes sense as like a floor filler. But if you want to make like, if you want to make like a lot of money, like some amount beyond that, let's say. Also, I worry that something's gone wrong here. Like I'm not sure what it is, but this doesn't seem like it's gonna work flawlessly. But let's just try it anyway. So yeah, the way to get rich, like a little bit rich, like again, like 6 digits rich. The rich you're probably imagining is you have to just go into some form of field, work for someone else, preferably save some amount of it, like a decent amount, and then eventually you retire at like 20 years early, and then you made a bunch of money. Again, at 200,000 a year, that's like $1 million every 5 years. That's a lot of money. That's more money than I have. Fun fact. So there you go. Easy way to make a lot of money. And if you want to be like really, really, really rich, or like actually let's just say, so if you want to be kind of rich, that's the best way. If you want to be really rich, you work out like the best profession, and you work out like how to rise to the very top of it, and you'll make like $1 million a year for being a CEO. But if you want to be like insane rich, like if you're like, when I was younger, I kind of had this dream. It's not so much anymore because again, it's not. Oh, that's something I should have accounted for. There's carpet down there, right? Well, not anymore. There's not. So let's just go ahead and fix that. But yeah, basically, if you want to be like really, really rich. Also, oh wait, throwers. If you want to be really, really rich, then you gotta like make some business of your own. Because the cool thing about if you make your own business, like again, if you become a textile seller and you sell carpets to people, then when you get like pretty rich, like let's say like $500,000 a year rich or something like that. I'm making up numbers here. I'm not sure how much you can make from selling carpets, but once you make that much money, you can kind of like start buying back your own time. Whereas if you're like really rich as a lawyer, you have to work 60 hours a week or something. But if you're really rich as a carpet business owner, then you can just be like, I'm going to take off this week and spend time with the family. I'm going to only work 30 hours a week because my job is done here. I've made the business work. So there you go. That's how you get like pretty rich. And if you want to get like insane rich, like Bill Gates level rich, because that was my dream when I was younger. Like, wouldn't it be cool to be the world's richest man? That's like one of the goals. Like some people want to be the fastest man, the strongest man. I think it'd be cool. Like, wouldn't it be nice to be the world's richest person? That'd be a cool little thing to get. And like again, I feel like to Bill Gates, like it doesn't matter at all, and maybe that's why he's so rich. But the way you become that rich, as I understand it, you have to find some emergent technology and then get there before anyone else thinks of it. So, for instance, even if you invested in Bitcoin, actually, if you just bought like 10,000 Bitcoins when they're $1 each, you'd have that much money. If you just work out what the future's going to be in such a level where everyone is saying no, it can't be that. That's how you do it. So again, Bill Gates with Windows. People before him, like selling oil back before oil was important, or like making oil refineries. At one point, a guy called Rockefeller, like Nelson Rockefeller, David Rockefeller, I don't actually know, but he was like he's a famous American businessman. He owned like 50% of the world's oil supply. Imagine how much money that is. So there you go. There's your guide on how to be rich from Toycat. You can be like pretty rich. You can be rich. You can be really rich, or you can be mad insane rich. And those are the plans. But that's not how. All of those things you have to kind of alter your life goals just to make the money, and that's why to some extent it's not really a plan of like. That's why not everyone has done it. Like if everyone knew that like, oh yeah, way you make money is just like sell carpets. I'm not saying carpets are a good business, by the way, but you know, if everyone knew that, then I believe, I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I believe anyway that less people would, I believe a lot of people would still do what they're doing, because a lot of people don't base their decisions based on finance. So if you want to be one of the people, if you want to be like the rich kids of Instagram or whatever it's called, you know, you want to drive that Lambo to work every day, then there you go. Toycat's Guide to Being Rich. You know, I don't know what the original point of that was, but apparently I've just taught you how to be a multi-millionaire. You get employed for someone else to be, like, if you want to make some good money, and you employ yourself if you want to make, like, really good money. But then it's harder, and, you know, there's always the risk reward. That's life for you, isn't it? So, yeah, with that said, this is what I've achieved today. Oh, no, okay, you know what? Before we go... Oh, I don't have any stone. I guess I have to smelt some up. We've done most of what we need to do here, but because I don't have any stone, I don't know why I thought I was getting some. I think I had some in a furnace, and I just didn't grab it out. But I'm really close to done with this whole thing now. Like, the water's flowing down there, or up there. You know, it's starting to look aquarium-y. I think we're really close. We're maybe like an episode or two away. And I'm looking forward to having like the aquarium thing finally finished. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing over the next few episodes. But for now, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did like it, you can like it and let me know, because it helps out the channel a lot. Let's know you do like Let's Plays, share if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new here. I make videos like this one every single day on my channel. Usually not talking about how to get rich, but you know, there you go. That's a fun little bonus, I guess. And I guess I'll see you all in the next one. So have a nice day. Goodbye.